Have you ever stopped mid-bite, twirling your fork full of noodles, and wondered, why do we call it spaghetti? It's such a familiar word that most of us never question it. We just say it, cook it, eat it, and move on. But behind that simple word lies a surprisingly fascinating history of language, culture, and food evolution. So today, let's unravel the tangled story of why is it called spaghetti, how it got its name, where it really came from, and how a humble noodle became a global icon. Let's get into it, right here on History of Simple Things. We'll start with the obvious. Spaghetti is an Italian word, but it's not just a random one. Spaghetti is actually the plural form of spaghetto, which means little string or thin cord. It comes from the Italian word spago, meaning string or twine. So if you take a single piece of spaghetti, you could technically call it a spaghetto, though let's be honest, no one actually does that at dinner. In short, the word spaghetti literally translates to little strings. That already gives us a good hint at why it's called that. It perfectly describes what it looks like. But the story doesn't end there, because these little strings didn't just appear out of nowhere. The word spaghetto first appeared in the Italian language sometime in the 14th or 15th century, right around the time pasta was beginning to take on its modern form. Italy wasn't yet a unified country then. It was a collection of regions, each with its own dialects and culinary traditions. Different areas had their own names for pasta shapes: macaroni, vermicelli, lasagna. Spaghetti was just one of many words Italians used to describe long, thin pasta. But interestingly, the root word spago existed even earlier. In medieval Italian, it simply meant a cord or string, used to tie things, not to eat. The shift from string to string-shaped food likely came naturally. Italians have a knack for naming food by what it looks like orecchiette, little ears, farfalle, butterflies, or linguine, little tongues. So spaghetti fit right into that tradition. Now that we know what the word means, the bigger question is, where did spaghetti itself come from? There's a popular legend that spaghetti came from China thanks to the explorer Marco Polo, who supposedly brought noodles back to Italy in the late 1200s after his travels in Asia. You've probably heard that story before, but it's not quite true. While Marco Polo did write about noodles he saw in China, pasta already existed in Italy long before he returned. In fact, references to pasta-like foods in Sicily date back to the 1100s, at least a century earlier. Arab traders who occupied parts of southern Italy introduced techniques for drying and shaping dough made from durum wheat, creating an early form of pasta that could be stored and transported easily. That's the real ancestor of spaghetti. So instead of Marco Polo bringing it home from China, it's more accurate to say that pasta evolved independently in Italy, with some influence from the Middle East. And once Italians got their hands on it, they perfected it into the form we know today. The name spaghetti might have stayed in Italy if not for one big event: immigration. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, millions of Italians moved to the United States, bringing their language and food traditions with them. In America, the word spaghetti became one of the first Italian terms to enter everyday English. It showed up in English cookbooks by the late 19th century, usually describing it as Italian macaroni. At first, spaghetti wasn't considered fancy. It was cheap, filling, and unfamiliar to most Americans. But over time, it became a staple of Italian-American cuisine, especially after canned tomato sauce and meatballs became widespread. The dish, spaghetti and meatballs, isn't actually traditional in Italy, but in the US, it became iconic. And with it, the word spaghetti entered global vocabulary. Today, it's recognized in nearly every language, proof of just how far those little strings have traveled. Out of all the pasta names, linguine, bucatini, vermicelli, why did spaghetti become the global superstar? It's simple and catchy. It rolls off the tongue easily, even for non-Italians. Also, spaghetti is the most versatile pasta shape. It goes with nearly any sauce, cooks quickly, and is easy to produce. So as pasta spread worldwide, spaghetti became the face of all pasta. So much so that some people just use spaghetti to mean pasta in general. The name stuck because it's both descriptive and musical. Those rhythmic double T's at the end give it a lively sound. In a way, spaghetti sounds as fun and twisty as the noodles themselves. Here's a fun fact. The word spaghetti is also one of the few Italian words in English that stays plural. We don't say a spaghetti. We say a strand of spaghetti or some spaghetti. That's because in Italian, the singular spaghetto isn't commonly used in daily life. So when English adopted the word, it kept the plural form, and that's how it remains today. So next time you're eating spaghetti, you can impress your dinner companions by saying, "Technically, I'm eating multiple spaghettos." So why is it called spaghetti? Because centuries ago, Italians looked at their new thin strands of dough and saw something that resembled little strings, spaghetti. That simple, descriptive name captured not only the shape of the food, but also the creativity and practicality of Italian language. Over time, that word traveled the world, transforming from a local term to a global symbol of comfort, connection, and delicious simplicity. Spaghetti isn't just pasta. It's a story that starts with language and ends on your plate. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.